Hi there and welcome to Hyundai Power Products. My name is Adrian and today we're going to be looking at this Hyundai roller mower. Now this particular model is an HYM 480 SPER roller mower, but the same principles apply to all of the other petrol roller mowers. So what we're going to be doing is changing the rear rollers. So in order to remove the rear rollers, we are at some point going to need to tip the lawnmower up on its side. So you will need to remove all of the fuel and the engine oil from the engine before you tip the lawnmower on its side. And again, as a safety precaution, just pull the spark plug cap off so that if you're underneath the mower, there's no way that it can start up by accident. So the first thing we're going to do is to remove these side covers. Now this top screw can be removed with a crosshead screwdriver. There it is, that's the first one out. Now this lower one is actually a nut and bolt. So up inside, if I feel up inside, I can feel the small nut on the inside. I'm going to need to get a spanner on that. So I'm actually going to tip the lawnmower on its side so you can see the nut. So basically, opposite the hole on the outside, I can get a spanner on there, hold the nut on the inside. It's an 8mm nut, or it takes an 8mm spanner I should say. And I can just undo the other little bolt that holds the second screw on. And there we are, that's the first side cover removed. So with the outer cover removed, it reveals the inner cover. And again, we can take the inner cover off. Crosshead screwdriver again. Just undo the top one. And the bottom one. And that's the inner cover removed. And that gives us access to the chain gear here. So I'm going to put the mower on its other side now and remove the plastic covers from the other side of the mower. So I'm going to take this sprocket assembly off. What you will find is that when you're attempting to undo the nuts, that the chain and sprockets turn at the same time. So what you can do is just get a round screwdriver. This will lock off the chain from going onto the sprocket, and I can loosen the nut. So that's that one, and that one loosens. So now with them loose, I can pull the screwdriver out and undo the two screws. So that's the top one, and that's the bottom one. So with the two screws removed, we can then pull off at the same time as each other the two sprockets, and that's it. And you can see they've got flats in their holes that match the shafts, so I can take the chain and sprocket assembly off and out of the way. So where the roller shaft fits through this rear cradle, you'll see a little circlip here. So using a circlip pliers, I'll just remove the little circlip, and I'll do the same on the other side. So with the circlips removed, again the 10mm spanner, or you could equally use a socket. I'm just going to remove the little bearing housing here. So I've broken them off with a spanner. And there we are. I can just take the little retaining plate away with its two screws. So that's both sides removed. You'll see a little snap ring in the outside of the bearing. That can stay in place. And what I'm going to do is just go to the other side of the mower and just lever the roller across, and you can see this little bearing pops out. This little bearing can be taken off the shaft now completely. So that's the main wheel bearing. So what I can do now is lever in the opposite direction, and the bearing will come out on the other side. So as you can see, that's the one from the other side. Okay. So at this point, I'm just going to lift the back of the lawnmower up, put a piece of wood under the rear of the lawnmower, and bring the wheels up so that frees the axle so that it's not touching on my bench here. So the next thing to note is that on either side is this spacer. So this needs to go on, we must remember, before we put the bearings back in. So that's a spacer, and there's one either side. I'll just remove the one from the other side, and that's the other spacer. So all that remains now, I can lift up the rear flap and I can pull out the shaft from between the two rollers. And there we are, that's the shaft removed. And then from under the mower I can just lift that further apart and take out both of the rear rollers. So that's it. That's the two rear rollers. Where are we? Here we are. The two rear rollers removed from the mower. When we come to put our new rollers back in, they are handed and directional. So important to, when we fit the new rollers, that they put in the correct way round. So obviously they have a boss on one side and the other side is flat. So if we bring our drive shaft in the direction it will be with the chain flats on this end, and just place it into the roller, in through the bearing, okay, what we should find is that if we turn it in this direction, it'll grip on the roller and the roller will turn. If I turn backwards, it will freewheel. So that tells me that this is the correct roller for this side. So I'll place this roller back in this position. And again, the boss this time is going to be away from me. And you'll see if I just test it with the shaft, with the boss away from me, just get the shaft started in the roller, just centralize it up. There we are. That this one does exactly the same. Yeah. Okay. Now if I was to have the rollers the wrong way round, let me just demonstrate by turning this one. Put that little bearing back in. If I was to put them in the wrong way round and tried to put this roller on this side, you'll find that it will freewheel in this direction and will only rotate backwards. So that tells me it's the wrong one from this side, it must go in the far side. So we know that that roller goes back in on the far side. So it's just important to get the handing of the two rollers correct, because they do look identical. So I've put that first roller roughly in place. Just going to pop the shaft back in to the first roller. Okay, so I've got it just passing through that first roller now. So I'll just pop the second roller into the carriage in a rough position. May need to pull that shaft back just a touch. Here we go. And I should be able to pass the shaft from the one roller into the second roller. Keep pushing through. And if I look at the far end here, when I get somewhere near, just get them lined up. So I passed the shaft right through now, no bearings in or anything like that. And I'll just, to double check myself, if I hold these rollers and turn the shaft clockwise from this end, both rollers turn, and I can turn the shaft in reverse and no rollers turn. So that just guarantees I've got the rollers on the right way round. Okay, so back on with the spacer either side now. So I shall do that first. Okay, I'm going to put the bearing back in this side, just into the hole. I'm just going to put this bearing plate back on. 2 screws, just the same way as I took it off. That's the first screw. And the second screw. I'm just going to put the circlip back on the far side as well. So finally, I need to put the sprockets back on. So I need to just play with the alignment slightly, so I can just get the rear one started and then rotate it until this front one lines up with its little keyway, which is not quite, just about there. There we go. So I've got both shafts coming through with the flats lined up with the flats in the two gears. Okay, so on with the screws now. And we can put a little bit of oil on this chain before we cover it all back up. So just nip that one first, get this one nipped. Okay, so we need to use the same principle now to lock the chain. I'll put a screwdriver in there, in one of the teeth of the sprocket, hard in. As I go to tighten the nut, it'll lock off against the chain there and stop it spinning. That's that one tight. I can leave it there, tighten that one, and I can just pull my screwdriver out, and that's the two sprockets replaced. So I put a little bit of oil on. I can take a screwdriver now and I'll just line up the inner guard. I can see the bolt hole there. Just get them both started before I screw anything in. That's this one. That's the rear one. Tighten them down firmly. So same on the other side. So back on with the outer covers now. I'll just get this, the one that doesn't have a nut on, get him started first. Just find where the hole is. Where is it? There it is. Just put him in loosely. Take the bottom one. Find where the hole is in the deck. There. So I can now tip it up on its side, hold the nut on the inside and do up this bolt. Oh yeah, exact reversal of the way we took it apart. Just get the nut started by hand. 8mm spanner on the inside. Do up that bolt. I just finished tightening the other one. There we go. And repeat the operation on the other side. Get the two screws lined up. I can just see underneath. Just about. There we are. That's that one. Feed that one in. There. Holding the nut on the inside. It's just starting to rain. Can't quite reach. There we go. Spanner on the nut. Is that one tight? And that one. And that's it. Rollers replaced, all the gears back on, everything back in place and ready to go again with new rollers. Well, I do hope you found this demonstration useful. For more information on this or any of our other products, visit www.hyundaipowerproducts.co.uk. I've been Adrian and thank you for watching.